Anish, what have you been up to? Well, actually, I know what you've been up to. You've been very, very productive. I don't think we ever talked about your newsletter, your Substack on the show here. So for people listening who are not aware, Anish has a Substack newsletter, and it's just actually remarkably productive. You put out 2-3 articles a week, something like that, on average, and it's very popular. And that's great. So we're going to talk about the most recent one. It's about fetal heartbeats.
Yes.
The physics of fetal heartbeats.
Did you see all the stuff as it was happening in real time, or?
Yeah, I did. So what's give the background, briefly.
Yeah. So Stacey Abrams, who's a Georgia Democrat who's currently running for, I can't keep straight, governor or senator or something she's running for.
Right.
And she said, as part of this panel discussion somewhere, that there is, in quotes, there is no such thing as a heartbeat at 6 weeks. It is a manufactured sound designed to convince people that men have the right to take control of a woman's body.
Okay.
And of course,
a social construct.
Yes, right. Yes, right. And RNC research, the Republican National Committee research. I mean, they are really whoever their social media person is on point. But because they found this clip and they put it up, and they said, "Reminder: Abrams supports no limits on abortion." Mm-hmm. So that was, it's like whatever. It's a kind of like, it was surprising to read, right? That was surprising to read because obviously we do cardiac ultrasounds, and that is not our understanding.
Right. So she said again, it's a manufactured sound designed to convince people that men have the right to take control over a woman's body. Okay.
Michelle, did you know that X-rays are also manufactured? The bones are manufactured, Michelle.
Uh-huh.
The picture is manufactured.
Right, I imagine.
Because that's not an actual. I mean,
right.
You're not opening up the person to visualize their ribs. You are looking at a manufactured picture.
Words are manufactured thoughts.
Yeah. Manufactured bones, manufactured thoughts. We live in a simulation.
Right. So then there was a big brouhaha, but then the fact checker.
Right. I almost forgot. That was the thing that got me triggered. And again, props to RNC research for this is everyone puts out things and they're trying to trigger people, and they got me. So Glenn Kessler, who is he's a editor of the Washington Post, owned by Jeff Amazon Bezos. Did you know Jeff Bezos' middle name is Amazon?
Yeah. What, you didn't know?
See, Michelle, somebody will report you now. This is misinformation. I don't think his middle name is Amazon.
What? But I'm sorry, say that again.
I thought his middle name is Amazon.
Oh, I saw. No, I misunderstood. Okay.
It was a dad joke.
Okay.
So
Okay. All right.
Not even you laughed at the dad joke. But anyway, so Glenn Kessler said that, editor of Washington Post said, for what it's worth, in parentheses, and he's a fact checker at I don't know what you have to do to become a fact checker, but he's a fact checker at the Washington Post, and he says, for what it's worth, he quoted the RNC research attack, the pouncing on Stacey Abrams thing, and said, for what it's worth, fetal heartbeat is a misnomer. The ultrasound picks up electrical activity generated by an embryo. The ultrasound picks up electrical activity generated by an embryo. The so-called, in quotes, heartbeat sound you hear is created by the ultrasound. Not until 10 weeks can the opening and closing of cardiac valves be detected by a Doppler machine.
Okay. And so you did some sleuthing here. So you just fact check the fact checkers. And you discovered that he was referring to, he was quoting or referring to another article written by written on NPR, on the NPR website, a blog, sort of a piece by NPR from maybe a year ago or whatnot, where they were quoting an OB doctor in reference to the Texas law, because this is, there's a Texas law, or many states have tried pass laws, and Texas was the first one to be successful at passing a law that uses the fetal heartbeat to segregate, or to set the timing when an abortion would be legal or illegal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating because they're clearly reading from some show. Because when I saw that Stacey Abrams, I was like, my God, I mean, that's clearly some layperson that doesn't know what she's talking about and just kind of made that up, and it's incredibly silly. But you just pass by it because most of what politicians say about medical things are kind of ludicrous. And but then for Glenn Kessler to say the same thing, it's like, holy cannoli, this is clearly there's an echo chamber of a bubble that exists somewhere, that this is like reality for them. And sure enough, Glenn Kessler, on his reply to that tweet, because he started getting a lot of activity saying, hey, you're wrong, Glenn, this is not really true what you're saying, he sources his opinion, his fact check, to this article. And this article, as you said, quotes multiple OB-GYN folks who basically is where he's saying this. They're not coming up with this on their own. This is actually our colleagues in medicine that are saying this. So I mean, and the fact NPR, the journalists here, that it's interesting that the first people they call up to talk about this, the first person quoted in this article, right? The article says, the Texas abortion ban hinges on fetal heartbeat. Doctors call that misleading. So it's like, oh my God, well, doctors call that misleading. So I can see why Glenn Kessler got taken in. But the first person they talked to, the first person they quote in the article, is an OB-GYN who specializes in abortion care and works at the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. So it's kind of like, it's an interesting conflict that they don't really mention, they don't really go into. But here's what Dr. Nisha Verma says, who is the OB-GYN that specializes in abortion care, who works at ACOG, the organization for OB-GYN. Right. When I use a stethoscope to listen to an adult patient's heart, the sounds that I'm hearing is caused by the opening and closing of the cardiac valves. At 6 weeks of gestation, these valves don't exist. The flickering that we're seeing on the ultrasound that early in the development of the pregnancy is actually electrical activity. And the sound that you hear is actually manufactured by the ultrasound machine. So Dr. Nisha Verma is the one that is, and I don't know who, someone else in ACOG, who is basically the source for all of this.
Right. So you dispute that?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously plainly wrong, just on plain scientific grounds. I mean, regardless of when you want to draw your line on abortion, clearly, I mean, again, I was making light about this earlier, but if the ultrasound is manufacturing the sound that you hear, that is the rhythmic pulsation of blood moving through a chamber. If the ultrasound is manufacturing that sound that most of us call a heartbeat, then yeah, X-rays, then an X-ray film with bones on it is also manufactured. I think. Right. I mean, obviously, the ultrasound literally is not making it up. The ultrasound is picking up the flow of blood within this cardiac chamber, within this rudimentary heart. Now, the heart may not be exactly like the adult heart, but obviously there's enough activity going on there that you can, when you put a Doppler line across the heart, a sound wave is bouncing off of blood that's flowing in and out, and that Doppler shift is being picked up, and that Doppler shift, is what that's what that sounds like. So right. It's the exact same thing we do when we put a Doppler across an adult heart, right? We put a line of Doppler across the adult heart, and we manufacture, we get a sound. So manufactured is interesting. I mean, the whole image on an ultrasound where you actually see the heart, that's manufactured. That doesn't mean the heart doesn't exist.
Right. No, it's true. But I mean, to be fair, first of all, there could be one interpretation of what they're saying.
Yeah.
That may be semi-reasonable, meaning that there's no actual sound. So if you tell a woman, listen, this is a sound produced by, if the woman is under the impression, the mother is under the impression that this is a sound produced by the baby or the fetus, the sound itself is not, so it's not just an amplifier, right? The Doppler is not just amplifying the sound that exists there.
I think so, right? I mean, well, I mean, it is. I mean, isn't it? I mean, it is amplifying something that exists there. I mean, I guess you're saying, is there? I mean, if you put your heart, if you're able to put your ear to a beating heart, whether it has valves or not, you're going to hear the the to and fro of blood, right? Or no?
Nope.
I mean, when you do that, when you have a hose with water that's rushing through it, you hear something. So it's not.
Not right. Dissimilar. I mean, you may or may not. I mean, it may be below the detection of what you hear, but or it may not produce anything. I mean, for it to produce a sound, right? I mean, there has to be vibration in the air. I mean, that's strictly speaking, that's what a sound is.
Right.
Whereas here, the sound that the Doppler machine makes, that's not a sound it's not amplifying, right? I mean, the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. You could program your computer machine to have drums or harps or gongs or whatnot.
Yeah.
Reflect the signal that is being picked up. It so happened that it's it's produced in a way that sounds a little bit like, I mean, it sounds like a whooshing sound.
Right, but it sounds like a whooshing sound because it is a whooshing sound.
Yeah, but I think
it's just happening. It's happening at a range of thing that is not. I mean, it is the same. The same thing that when you hear that police siren car going across. I mean, you're hearing a sound that's just very loud, and so your ear can pick it up. But that sound is happening. It's just happening at a range that your naked ear cannot hear it.
Yeah, but again, I mean, I think again, strictly speaking, right? I mean, the Doppler is picking up shifts in velocity,
right?
That are, cyclic, and it's it expresses that, if you will, or it maps that with sounds. It could map it maps it also with on the screen, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be just
exactly. You can see it. I mean, you can see the rhythmic to and fro of blood coming out of that. So I mean, I get what you're saying. Like on a very, very semantic level, I guess there's I mean there's no sound. There's no sound.
Yeah. There's no sound being created. I mean, you could conceivably have pulsatile flow without any sound, strictly speaking, and the Doppler would pick it up and amplify it and make us emit a sound to signify, to indicate what what is being picked up. And the term heartbeat is actually interesting itself, because I mean it gave me pause, because when you think about the word heartbeat, you think about a sound, don't you? Or what? I mean, isn't that what comes to mind?
You think about some sound. Yeah, you think about some beating.
Some sound.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. But heartbeat, strictly speaking, is not a sound. It's a pulsation. It's a beating. Right. It's a beating. So it's not a sound. We've applied. Hearts had heartbeats before Linnaeus invented the stethoscope. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I don't know, but I suspect people were you talk about the pulse, it's the same word, pulse, and pulse is Latin for beat. So heartbeat and pulse is just it signifies a contraction of something that is written.
But if you put your stethoscope and ear to somebody's chest, obviously you hear.
Correct. But you don't hear the pulsation of your pulse here in your carotid, but yet you can feel that there's a pulse.
Right.
There's a pulsation here, and there's a heartbeat here. You can put your hand and feel a heartbeat. Right, without hearing a sound. But we've become accustomed to thinking about heartbeats as sounds, because the stethoscope is so prevalent and it's such it's so. But the heartbeat itself is not a sound. So in the article in the NPR website, there was a claim made that turns out to be correct. And I didn't know it. She says, Dr. Varma says, the medical sounding term fetal heartbeat that is being used in this law is not, I mean, essentially it's not a medical term. And she's right. I did a search on PubMed and I put the phrase fetal heartbeat. And there are maybe 8 articles where it comes up, but it's not, I was surprised by that, but I think she's correct. That there's no such term as a fetal heartbeat.
I mean, there's no. I mean, why do you say that?
I mean, a term of art. It's not used by, evidently, by any researcher or OBGYN, and it's not in the medical literature.
That's interesting.
So the term fetal heartbeat is used, is very prevalent, but I think it's an abortion war term, and not a medical term per se.
Really? But what? So then, when you go, for your early pregnancy checkup, and they put a Doppler and they try to see what the, whether or not there's a heartbeat, and that's one of the first things you do to see if you have a viable fetus, right?
Right.
Is there a? I mean, just going through it as a layperson, I'm not an OB-GYN, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure the doctors have always used the term, we hear a good strong heartbeat.
Correct. So that's what I mean. It's used primarily to communicate with patients. And it's not a term that seems to have value.
No, but you and I are doctors.
Right.
And I mean, if I was talking to you about about something else, you're saying that because we're cardiologists, we don't know this. And we would say, my wife's, again, we're cardiologists, and I don't think that there's nothing wrong with using the term heartbeat for that.
I don't disagree. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm not saying that
it's wrong. You're saying the OB-GYN world does not use the term.
Right. The OB-GYN world, the embryology world, the fetal development world, they don't use that term.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do they call it then? What is it?
So I started thinking about it, but I think they probably it doesn't matter. It's not something that matters to them. Right, an embryologist or a developmental researcher. Why
does that not matter to them? That's because they don't know ultrasound. I mean, if you have
because they don't use. I mean, if you're trying to study the development of an embryo, a fish embryo, you're not going to talk about fetal heartbeat. You're going to talk about on day 5 you have cardiac contraction, you have the involution of this tube and this tube forms and whatnot. And so the term fetal heartbeat is primarily a term that is used for moms by sonographers, right? For lay people, and then it's been used now in the abortion.
But that doesn't mean they are correct. And it is for all intents and purposes a heartbeat. I don't know why we would not use the term. They should be using the term if they're not.
Right, I agree, but it's not a strictly. It's not.
You're saying it's not common parlance for them. Like if a bunch of OB-GYNs got together, they would not say, well, what do they call it? We have heard. I mean, they're the ones that do use the fetal Doppler to see if there's something, right?
Right.
What do they?
So it's funny. They use a tachometer, right? The fetal Doppler is the tachometer.
Okay.
And I don't know what's used in the.
I am pretty sure when they leave the room and they talk amongst themselves, they say, exam room 1 has,
Yeah, but you would think it would be in the medical literature. You would think it would be in preterm labor or whatnot. It would be in the medical literature, but it's not. Okay. It's not something else in the medical literature.
Okay. It is what they use to look at. I mean, when they make decisions on if they need to deliver the baby or distress, right? I mean, they put that little, that circle thing with the gel, and they position it so it's in the right place. And I mean, that's basically a Doppler, right? And it's
correct, but
it's constantly going off, and
they don't draw attention to the phrase fetal heartbeat. I mean, it's not something that they use. They use deceleration of fetal heart tones. Maybe if I Google fetal heart tones, maybe that's what's being used instead of fetal heartbeats.
Sure.
It's a little aside, but I thought it was interesting. But anyway, I mean, why do you think that matters? Why? I mean, we know why that matters, but let's flesh that out a little bit. Why is it important? Why is the law drawing attention to this? In your piece, you steer clear of you try to steer clear of the abortion debate, but I want to bring you into it because I think it's important. At least it's important to understand the arguments or how the arguments are being used on either side. So one criticism of the Texas abortion law by Dr. Varma or one of the other GYN doctors in the NPR,
Yeah.
is that the law says, and I think it's correct because the text of the law says, fetal heartbeat has become a key medical predictor that an unborn child will reach live birth.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea,
So,
honestly.
I know. Right. On the face of it, it seems highly unlikely.
Oh, really? No. I mean, well, I mean, I think I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I mean, I don't know what percentage of pregnancies that have a fetal heartbeat go on to. I mean, I know that if you don't have a fetal heartbeat, that's very bad, and that means the fetus is, there's no viability. Right. I mean, that's.
But I mean, it's the two sides of the same coin. What the fetal heartbeat, the only thing that a fetal heartbeat can say is that the fetus is alive.
It's alive.
Yeah. It cannot say anything beyond that, because even a dying fetus will have a heartbeat so long as it's not dead.
I know, but that gets this whole notion of life and when it begins and all that, which is more.
Not even going there.
Oh.
Just
no, meaning they're saying that the having a fetal heartbeat is a very important prognostic marker for if this fetus will proceed to be viable.
That's what the law says.
Right. I don't know that.
I think it's a manufactured statement. I don't think it has any scientific basis.
Well, but if you don't need a fetal heartbeat, then that's a sign that you don't have.
Right, but they could have said that. They could have said a fetal heartbeat is a sign that the fetus is alive.
Okay. Well,
why didn't they say that?
Well, no, they're saying it because
it's a predictor that an unborn child will reach live birth.
Yes. Is that not true?
No.
Why?
Why would it? It just states that the fetus is alive. It doesn't tell you anything about the future.
Well, if you don't hear it and it's true, then it tells you that this is not a viable fetus. So if you hear it,
no, it doesn't tell you that it's not a viable fetus. It tells you that it's a dead fetus.
Right. Yes, it is no longer. Well, you're trying to pull. You're trying. Well, I think the conversation. I think people are very, very careful, as I am trying to be as well, about when you attach life to something that's inside the.
Yeah, no. I mean, we'll get to that in a moment, but
that's why they're doing it. They're doing it to skirt the topic. They're doing to say you can't. Then does the fetus at 5 weeks have personhood, and does the state have a right to then protect the fetus from the mom, all that stuff. And so that's why they're saying that they're acknowledging the pre-born or pre-life or pre.
Right, but they're trying to use. I mean, they're putting a veneer of scientific. I mean, they're using a pseudoscientific argument that is actually false.
A pseudoscientific argument, yeah. You're saying it's pseudoscientific because you don't know that.
Right. I mean, I don't know of any study, and I can't imagine it, specifically since the term fetal heartbeat is not even in the medical literature, that would say, oh, a fetal heartbeat detected then is a predictor of a live birth 9 months later. I mean, it's only a predictor in the sense that you have a live, right? Right. But if you have something alive, if you have something alive now, then in a certain way, it's a predictor of it being alive 9 months later, or 9 months.
I kind of see what you're saying, but you have to understand that it's a very powerful thing in the sense that if it's there, there's so the presence of it means that there's so many fetuses that no doubt likely
No, but I mean, if I said the presence of a fetal heartbeat is a predictor of this person being a genius, and that
would be ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's the same kind of argument, right? Because I mean, you can't say that it's true or false. I mean, it's possible. And if there was no fetal heartbeat, then yes, you would not have a genius 20 years later.
Yeah.
But there's no.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the law here is trying to manipulate something. I mean, it's saying something that is I think false and kind of stupid. and we know why it's saying that. I mean, it's so right. I mean, it's funny. It's using this kind of in a way, it's a utilitarian argument, right? I mean, it wants an outcome, an endpoint, right, which is live birth, right, to justify passing a law that will prevent women from having an abortion
Right.
at
Yeah,
beyond the time.
Yes.
So it's kind of silly, but the real reason, I'm sure, is that they realize that many women, when they hear the fetal heart tones, then the reality of pregnancy changes completely in their mind.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, it's one thing to think about a clump of cells, which the way the pro-abortion side frequently describes an embryo, whereas it's a totally different thing to hear something that seems organized, right? That has an order, that is beating at its own rhythm, right? That it has its own entity. So that's so. I wish the law had been written that way. I mean, you could have said, a fetal heartbeat is key to informing mothers of the reality of what is in their bellies, right? And therefore they deserve the right to hear it before they make a decision, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But on that note, you write something in your or you wrote something, and I'm going to read it here. Where you allude to, so you say, the sound is created in the sense that the Doppler sound is created in the sense that you can't see or hear any of this without the assistance of technology. But it isn't fabricated in the sense that it's not, made out of thin air. But then you say, you talk about, on the other hand, simply growing a clump of tissue in a Petri dish that beats and can be assessed visually with a microscope or by cardiac ultrasound doesn't make the clump of tissues alive. And so you link to a video where some, bioengineers have, engineered some cardiac tissue, and you see in a Petri dish, you see all these cells sort of beating in synchrony, if you will, cardiac cell beating in synchrony. And you say that is not an indication that it is alive. Whatever is in the Petri dish is alive.
Right.
But clearly what's in the Petri dish is alive. Right? It's right. Not only is it alive, but presumably you could actually have a Doppler sound generated out of that clump of cells.
No, right.
And,
so that's
and
why,
make
that's
it,
why
make
I
it.
was making a distinction. I mean, I think I was basically saying that it's what defines alive and is I guess we have different understanding. What does it mean to be alive?
I mean, aren't the cells in the Petri dish alive? I mean, if they weren't alive, they'd be dead, and then you toss them out.
I guess for defining, I guess you're very narrowly, or you're very stark about how you define alive and dead. Yeah. So I see. Yeah. Okay. So
it's important, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that's true. So I mean, yeah. So right. No. So yeah. So there's a cell, and the cell.
Because I mean, that's precisely what you're making their point in a way with that statement. They're saying that's precisely what we're saying. We're saying that just the fact that they're beating in synchrony.
Right. So I guess I guess to me being alive requires more than just alive in the human sense requires more than just so you're right. So I'm being discriminatory against amoeba and
no, but I mean, even let's take the humans out of it. Let's suppose it's a dog.
No, you're correct. I'm saying you're correct. I'm not arguing it. I'm saying you are correct that technically it is alive, but when I'm using the term alive, I'm talking about alive in the human sense. Like, is this a human? That is the question.
Right.
So is this a human that is alive? So I guess I'm not being careful in how I'm saying it. So I'm not saying just because then so I'm not saying just when I'm talking about this particular topic. I'm not in the science class where, you know, if a science teacher asked me about a bacteria in a petri dish and said, "Is that alive?" I would say, of course, I would say yes.
Right.
And so by that definition, yes, the petri dish, the cells in the petri dish are alive. What I'm talking about it in the context of this larger thing, which is basically saying, what rights should we imbue to these cells beating the petri dish? I'm saying that clearly this is not alive. This is not a live person, and therefore it is not
Right.
alive.
So,
Yeah.
but and what would you say to the embryo whose fetal heart tones or fetal heartbeats you hear with a Doppler?
Yeah, I think that's a very complicated thing. So I don't know what to say. I mean, there's clearly there's some importance to it that is more than a beating cells, heart cells in a petri dish. There's clearly a difference in terms of value, or in terms of the what may happen in the future, I guess. But yeah, it's a little bit challenging. I mean, there's obviously a difference between a clump of cells on day one in utero versus something at with basically a baby at 38 weeks, right?
Right.
So there's clearly some difference there. The question is, how do you I mean, do you think there's a difference between a clump of cells on day 2 versus
I mean, it's not that complicated. If you stand by the petri dish and wait 9 months, what do you get?
You got nothing.
Clumps of cells.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas there, if you stand by, don't do anything, and wait 9 months, you get something that you're going to recognize as a baby, and therefore it was all along. I mean, there was nothing.
Oh, it was all along.
Yeah. I mean, well, I mean that's one way. It doesn't prove that it's all along, but at least it's a sign that makes you think. I mean, you'd have to have reasons to think otherwise, right? I mean, right? I mean, if a baby that's born is a human being, right? I mean, and again, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, we know full well that there are many people who are starting to challenge that, who have been challenging this for the last 20, 30 years. But let's say you have a 5-year-old boy is a human being. He's right. I think most of the current ethicists, Peter Singer and colleagues, would admit to that. And then you go back 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, when they're 6 months old or 1 month old or just born, and a day before being born, right? I mean, it's the same entity, the same substance, right? I mean, there's no distinction.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
because you know what a thing is from how it behaves, right? I mean, how do you know that a dog is a dog? You know that a dog is a dog because it barks and it sniffs other dogs' private parts, and it behaves in certain ways.
Right.
There are dog ways.
Right.
Right. And so, if you have a 6-week-old embryo, and you don't do any, you know that it's going to behave in a certain way, right? Which is a human way. There's no other way.
I know, but there's some. I mean, it has been long acknowledged that. I mean, this kind of binary thinking where anything that may become a human, alive at 9 months is therefore, alive, is, meaning then a 5-year-old child and a 2-day fetus has the same rights. It just doesn't seem correct.
But why do you think in terms of rights? I'm not talking about rights here. I'm just talking about what is it? Before you decide about rights, what is it?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Is it a person? I mean, whether it's alive or not. I mean, we've already established that
Even-
it doesn't matter whether you're alive or not, because then
I mean, of course,
yeast
no. I
cells
mean,
are-
I hope we have established that it is alive.
it is it is alive, but
Okay.
it doesn't. I'm saying it doesn't matter then. You know, if we're using those strict definitions, it doesn't matter if you're alive. What matters is have you crossed
No.
into personhood or not?
No. But before, I mean, if you have to be a person, you have to be alive. So it matters to be alive.
No,
or
no,
not.
fine. No.
Okay,
So we're
okay.
acknowledging
So-
we're acknowledging life.
Okay. So they're both alive. Okay.
We're acknowledging life.
We're
We're
doctors.
acknowledging life. The petri, the cells in the petri dish are alive. The yeast
Right.
cell is alive. The bacteria is alive. Yes, they're all alive.
Okay. So it's alive.
Yes.
And then what is it? What is it?
Well, I think that's the hard part. What is it? It's not a person.
The term person is a philosophical term. Why don't you use the term human being or not human being?
Okay, it's not.
So human being is
It's not a human being. Yeah, it's not a human being.
It's not a human being at 6 weeks or 2 weeks or whatnot.
I don't know where that line is, but it's certainly two days. I mean, there's clearly something different between a 2 days, which is eight cells or whatever, and so it's easy to draw a distinction between those extreme polar places.
Why wouldn't it be a human
Michel,
being from the moment of conception? Why is that not the most natural place to think about the beginning? Because that's actually the beginning.
Yeah.
Because
Even
how do you decide when it's a beginning is a beginning is when whatever happens afterwards follows the expected course. That's the beginning. And we know that what happens after conception, generally, unless there's an accident like a miscarriage or whatnot, generally follows the expected course. So conception is the beginning. So there's no mystery. I mean, why to me? I mean, to argue otherwise requires an argument or some kind of proof that there's been a change between the moment of conception, that there's a fundamental change that then, okay, now there's something different. But from conception on, all you have to do is sit back and then it behaves the way human behaves, human beings behave. Or dog. I mean, if you talk about a dog conceptus, right? The egg and the sperm of Papa and Mama dogs coming together, then you have a dog through all the stages of development of a dog.
Right.
You have a dog is a dog, when it's born, after 2 years, after 5 years, and it's also a dog before it's born.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously, when you have a miscarriage happen at early in the pregnancy, right? There's a lot of people react very differently to a 15-week miscarriage versus a 34-week stillbirth, right? Why is that?
Because they're because I mean it's not complicated. When a pregnancy is generally a good thing, right? And your anticipation and your emotional investment is greater at 36 weeks than it is at 6 weeks or 10 weeks. I mean, I don't know that that's.
I think it's because
you're more sad when you say you have you just meet somebody and then they die the next day. You're gonna be sad, but you're not gonna be as sad as if it's a friend that you've known for like 30 years, right? Your emotional investment in the relationship is going to be much greater the longer the time, right? The longer the relationship.
Right. There's generally, it's been a commonly accepted since forever that there's a different that there's a different value to
source citation.
No, I mean this is not even the I mean I know whether you look back in Indian history or look back in teaching, even haven't the Catholics struggled with this, Michelle? I mean I think what was it, Thomas Aquinas? I mean, there's this concept in Catholicism of the difference
quickening
between soul.
at quickening. What happens at quickening? So
right.
At some point, right. At some point,
that the soul. I mean, so I think, and this end souled, and I forget what the other term is. No lack of soul and soul, ensouled or something like that. And there's this idea that, and again, whether you believe in a soul or not, there's this idea that at some point during the pregnancy, the developing life has a soul, and once it has a soul, now this is a person. I think it's just enshrining what we all kind of recognize, right?
That's correct. And to this day, actually, the the Catholic Church, if you look at its position on it, doesn't actually say that the conceptus at day one is a human being.
Right.
But it says that it should be treated with the same respect as you would treat a human being, because you
Right.
don't, there's no visible sign of when that happens.
Right, but it happens somewhere in between. I mean, Michelle, I mean, look, you have
No, but
pregnant women.
I'm not disputing.
Yeah.
We can't get into it. I mean, it's a very complicated,
Sure.
philosophical problem to sort through. But I think that the position to say that if you're agnostic, then you'd better err on the side of thinking that it's a human being from day one. That's a more defensible position than saying, well, we don't know, and therefore it's up for grabs.
It's a human being from day one. Yeah.
Right. I mean, in a strict sense, it is a human being. Because it comes from human parents.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a dog being or an elephant being or a chimp being.
But a pregnant woman who has, is discovered to have, I don't know, cervical, some stage 2 or some type of stage of cervical cancer or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the fetus is 32 weeks, you make very, very, very different decisions in terms of treatment, right? Versus if the fetus is 2 or 3 weeks, right? Meaning we don't regard them the same, and that's not because we're trained to do that. It's just a natural thing. It's like
it's hard to sort that out actually, because let's say 100 years ago, you had no choice. You wouldn't treat them any differently because there was no treatment for.
No, I know, but now we have treatments that would directly
so now
harm the fetus.
Right, correct. But now we're in a way where these things are highly controversial, and you have the abortion. Right? So now and the medical, by and large, the medical profession is highly in favor of abortion and of this notion of that it's not, that it doesn't have the
no, but you would specifically go ahead with therapies even if they were toxic to a fetus, if you discovered this at 4 weeks, whereas and nobody would blink twice about it, because obviously you're trying to save the mom, and the mom.
Correct. So I'm saying when you say nobody would think twice about it, that's a cultural phenomenon. What should be done is actually not that straightforward. And you have people who are serious, who seriously think that the 4-week embryo or the 4-week fetus is a human being. There's a lot of ink being poured in the, in the camp of those who, to decide what to do, because it's actually it's clearly a very difficult.
But it shouldn't be. But the point is, it shouldn't be anyone pouring ink into it. It should be the decision of the woman at that point. But at some point, it becomes. There's a line that you cross, and now, you as a doctor, it would be unethical to. I mean, there's no ethical doctor that would, even if the woman wanted to do something at, say, 36 weeks or some ridiculous. At that point, of course, you can deliver the baby.
Right.
But whatever, 28 weeks, 26 weeks. I mean, there's a very, very different path you would travel down as a doctor, and I think I think it would be unethical, right, for doctors to treat a 2-week-old. 2-week fetus the same as a 28-week fetus.
But it's unethical to treat a 5-year-old the same you would treat a 90-year-old.
Right, but you would make specific. But you would make specific decisions that could harm the fetus, and at 4 weeks or 5 weeks or 6 weeks, those you would not fault anyone for doing that. You would fault them for doing it at 26 weeks. Right, giving certain chemotherapeutic agents that would result in an abortion or result in damage to the fetus, or
no, I'm not sure. So I'm not actually quite sure. You have to be a little bit. You have to be more specific. If you, I think it's. I don't know. I don't see a distinction.
Really?
I mean, if you treat differently before the age at which the baby can be delivered. And say
I mean if you discover I mean, cancer is the easiest example, right? If you discover somebody has some stage 3 ovarian cancer, and it's a 4-week fetus, right? And the mom makes a clear decision to say, hey, look, I want to try to save myself. And you make that decision. I mean, maybe the mom doesn't make the decision. Maybe the mom says, no, I don't want treatment.
Correct.
But the point is, at 4 weeks, it should be the mom's decision as to what she wants to do with this horrendous situation she's been put in.
No,
at 26 weeks, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously people are a lot more uncomfortable with mom saying, you know,
I think, I don't think so. I think
so?
No, I think they're very difficult decisions at both time points. They're equally
They're
difficult.
They are difficult.
They're equally difficult.
You're not going to find, you're going to have trouble.
But the treatment may be different just because in practical terms, it's going to be different because the physiology is so different. The circumstances are so different. But strictly speaking, ethically speaking, I don't think there's a difference. You know, I mean, you have it's a very difficult situation, and
But I guess the question is, when do you tie mom's hands? When do you start limiting mom's options? You're not going to limit mom's options at all at 4 weeks.
But it's
you
not
probably will put some limits on our options at, say, 26, 28 weeks or something.
I don't think,
some place where. No.
No, I disagree with that. I mean, I think she should. I mean, the mom should have options, and the doctor should have options, but all the options should be subordinate to a bigger ethical. Or I mean, the ethics should not be the preference. The ethics should be what's right to do, and sometimes it can be very difficult.
No, but what's right to do for whom?
Correct.
What's right to do for mom, for baby?
So here you may have. I mean, I don't know that it would be wrong to give chemotherapy at either time points. And then hope for the best. Right?
I mean, yeah, I get, I guess
right. So you could treat at either time points and then hope for the best, because you're not intending to harm the fetus either way. Right. So it's
but
not.
You know that you are harming, if depending, obviously.
Yeah, you are right, but we do that all the time, where we know we're harming, but that's not, it's a side effect, if you will. And you hope for the best. I mean, same thing when you have a woman with an ectopic pregnancy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, ectopic pregnancy is actually a more classic case that gets discussed about how to.
Right, but there. I mean, what is there to discuss? I mean, it's not viable in the fallopian tubes.
Well, it's alive.
And if it progresses, it will kill mom. So
correct,
you don't have a viable fetus, and if it progresses, it'll kill mom. So there's no real. I mean, it's not really that's not complicated, no.
Correct. It's not complicated, but it's not. So you've done something that will kill a baby, right? You say it's not viable, but at this point, it's alive. It's a human being and whatnot.
Right.
And so you do it. It's a tragedy and whatnot. Yeah. So you're right. I mean, in a sense, the choice is a little bit more easier to make. But I don't know that you make a distinction between how to treat a pregnant woman who's 10 weeks pregnant versus 26 weeks pregnant, if it's going to harm the fetus either way. I mean, I don't think that's an argument to. It's not an argument to point to or to signify that there's a different moral status.
Yeah, but you are correct. I did err in saying I should have consulted you.
Right. I mean, I think it can be salvaged, but you could say it's not right. The clump of tissue in a petri dish that beats can be assessed visually, doesn't make the clump of tissue a human being.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, does not make
that's what you meant, right?
Human. Yes,
but that's I mean, those are important clarifications to make, right? To be able to.
You're right, because the distinction is not alive or not.
Correct. And we have to be careful, because the blurriness, the lack of distinction, is used by people with an axe to grind, right?
Yes.
So it's very important for us, and I mean, it's amazing how little we are. Is asked of us to think about those things as practicing doctors. To think clearly about those things. precisely because they can be if the less, the more careless we are about them, the easier it is to be manipulated into.
Sir, you are correct. My you are correct. My my next post is coming out tomorrow,
Okay.
and the title is "The College Football Fans That Beat COVID and the Experts That Could Not."
Great. I look forward to it. I written a piece, and I can announce
Oh,
it.
good. What are you? What is your
Well,
piece on?
the title is "Free Speech and Forced Jabs."
Oh, I like it. I like it. Look forward to
Okay.
it. Oh, maybe I'll put it on. You should. You should. We'll put it on this. Well, yeah. Maybe it could be on the Substack as well. In addition to
Okay,
alert and
sure,
oriented. Are you
sure.
putting it on alert and oriented?
I put it on alert and oriented. In fact, we may as well give each other's URL. So yours is what? Substack.
AnishKokaMD.substack.com.
AnishKokaMD.substack.com, and mine is alertandoriented.com.
The empiricist has no clothes. That's your realism for Joe Rogan. How did I miss these?
If you subscribe to my newsletter, you'd get them in your inbox, but that's okay.
Oh, all right. Here, I'm subscribing right now. Look at that.
All right.
You were there before Substack.
Right.
You should migrate to Substack.
I don't know. I'm happy where I am. I've been at Alert and Oriented for 14 years now.
Excellent. All right. I'm now subscribed. All right, Michelle. Thanks.
Have a good night. Bye.
Yeah, you too.